Joining me is former Hereford United captain Derek Hall. It was the summer of '91 that you joined the club. John Sillett signed you as manager. What was he like?
How can you describe John Sillett? Probably one of the best managers I ever played for. I was very lucky to play under him when I was an apprentice at Coventry City. He was my youth team coach. And then obviously he came back to Hereford and I signed for him, and he was wonderful to play for. If you were doing well, he was the best manager in the world, but if you weren't, you certainly knew about it.
That first season you seemed to struggle with injuries. Was it a frustrating time for you?
It was a frustrating time because we'd signed probably 6 or 7 new players at the start of that season. We had some good players already there, and we started off very well and winning games, top of the league. I got a very bad injury at that time. I was out for a long time. And then it just seemed to go downhill, and I'm not sure the reason why. And then John obviously left, and that was kind of done without anybody knowing. So I'm not sure to this day what really happened when he left.
How did you get on with Greg Downs, who replaced John Sillett as manager?
Yeah, Greg was wonderful. Really nice guy. In my opinion, was a very good coach. The only problem with Greg is he was trying to do everything. And that was very difficult, you know. He was on his own, he didn't have an assistant. And in them days, that was difficult. And he was also trying to play. And I believe that in the end was far too much for him. And in the end, probably didn't get enough support from the club at that particular time to try and help him.
Are there any games that stick out in the memory for you?
There's a few, yes. We had fantastic cup runs while I was there under John Sillett. We went to Nottingham Forest. That was a wonderful day. We also had a couple of other great games in the cup. Some great times, and with John made sure that the players thoroughly enjoyed that and kept the Hereford tradition, and the supporters seemed to come and really, really get behind us in the cup runs, and that was great. I remember the Northampton game away. I played in the famous game where I think we had 4 or 5 players sent off. That brought back good memories. And also the Cardiff games, they were big games, and unless you've played in a Hereford Cardiff game, then you don't really understand what that's all about.
You're a former Halifax player as well, and you scored that infamous goal that sent Halifax down. Results meant elsewhere that they would have gone down anyway. What did it feel like to score that goal at the Shea?
It was a very surreal moment. I remember it very well. And obviously there's footage which I've seen. I had 2-3 great years at Halifax, some good friends. And when I actually scored the goal, you could hear a pin drop. It was crazy. And I think it just kind of hit me that perhaps that was the goal that sent them down. But in the end, it wasn't that way. You know, and Halifax went on and did what they had to do. But yeah, I remember that very well. And I think it was the last game of the season, and big crowd. And in the end, it was a strange thing that it came to me, and I just side-footed it in, and that was the goal that won the game.
In your second and third seasons, you scored a lot of goals. Did Greg give you the encouragement to push forward?
He did. He gave me a lot of freedom to board. And I found getting forward was a good part of my game, and I scored quite a lot of goals in that era, in that time. Especially that season, I was very lucky to win Player of the Year, which the fans voted for me, and had a good year, and was really, really thriving playing under Greg. And I thought that was only going to get better and better until the infamous meeting I had with Robin Fry, and then that changed everything.
So what happened in this meeting?
Well, just before that, in that season, the club were on about offering me a new 2-year contract, which we were negotiating. And all I wanted was to stay at Hereford. My wife, Sally, daughters, Lauren and Beth, were really settled down there. We bought a house in Bishop's Froome, which we really loved living there. My family was settled. And all I asked the club for was a 2-year deal. Not a big rise, nothing. The money wasn't the issue. It was just a bit of security for me and my family. I thought I'd had a good season. And I went to see Robin. He called me in and he offered me a 1-year contract. And that was it, no negotiations, which I obviously didn't sign. Went home very disappointed. Hopefully, you know, that would turn round and they'd come back and re-offer me something. 2 weeks later, they sold me, and that was the reason I left the football club.
You went to Rochdale. You returned to Edgar Street for the final game of the 95-96 season. Hereford reached the playoffs. There was a 6,000 crowd at Edgar Street. How did it feel playing at Edgar Street when you'd seen crowds, 1,500, 1,600, and then Hereford were on their way to the playoffs and, 6,000 people were packed into Edgar Street?
It was a very, very strange moment for me, that. I was, especially with the fans, I'd got a great relationship with the fans, and I saw how happy they were that day. And that Hereford had come through a few bad times, and obviously at the time I was there, I'm sure the club were having problems, but we weren't really made aware of that. But yeah, it was very strange and a very sad day, really, because all I wanted to do was stay down there and play for them. And obviously football sometimes doesn't work out like that. But in the end, that was taken away from me and wasn't even my decision.
We're currently doing this via Facebook Messenger because you currently live in Australia. What's it like living over there?
Yeah, it's great. Me and my wife Sally have a nice life here. My daughter Bethany's over here with her partner. The only regret is that our daughter is still in England, but she has a good life over there with her husband and obviously our grandson. So that's difficult. But we love living in Australia. It's a wonderful place to live and we thoroughly enjoy it.
Are you involved in football in Australia as well?
I am, yes. I've coached ever since I've been here. I enjoy it. I coach at senior level. And I also do run some academies and things. So I thoroughly enjoy it. It's nice doing that with the sun on your back. It's really good. So yeah, we have a nice life here, Matt, and something that we thoroughly enjoy.
And do you still keep up to date with everything Hereford FC? I know you watched the Fleetwood FA Cup game on BT Sport 6 months ago.
Yeah, I love watching anything to do with it, and that's why I can only thank you and the other people there that keep the Hereford name going, and people like me in Australia can keep in touch with my old teammates. Some fantastic players and friends that I had at the club. And it's great to be back in touch with them, and that's all to do with what you did and put Hereford United on social media, and we can keep in touch.
Are there any players that you were close to during your 3 years at Edgar Street?
Oh, Peter Heritage I speak to. There's a few players. Been in touch, Owen Pickard. There's a few, who else have I spoken to? Quite a few of the boys, and I've probably missed Dave Morris now I'm in touch with. And quite a few, and obviously sometimes after you've done the interviews, we speak on social media. A lot of the boys that you've interviewed who I played with, and it was great to hear Topper on your broadcast. We were very close. So yeah, and like I said, that wouldn't be available if we didn't have what you did. So especially from me, I can only thank you.
And would you ever consider coming back to England, or you permanently established in Australia now?
No, well, you never know, do you, Matt? Life's a strange thing, and you don't know. I mean, we are very, very happy living in Australia. I'm sure I would come back one day. Obviously, my father's over there, and I have family over there as well. So I'd love to come back and see them. And if I do that, I'd love to come down to Hereford and watch a game down there.